Morning. Looking forward to the schedule for the next week or two here. We're going to have some sweet things on stream. I always love when I get to play with Orcish Lumberjack, and that's coming again soon. Gonna try out some High Tide. Hopefully do better than Julian did. He got smoked. And then there's the Blue-White Spirits deck, which I don't know how I feel about. I'm very intrigued by it, though. All right, good morning, everyone. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site exclusively for legacy, death, and taxes. But this morning we're playing with 4-color Loam. This stream is a donation goal stream from a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to it. So, in case you're not familiar with the general idea of 4-color Loam, we're a non-blue mid-range deck built around a few different engines. So we have the Punishing Fire Grove of the Burn Willow lock to mow down creatures. We have Knight of the Reliquary, which can repeatedly tutor up wastelands to go and just like mow down all of your opponent's lands. We have Life from the Loam to do the same sort of thing. And there's also a few utility lands in here that can be pretty annoying, like, say, the Cabal Pit that can also kill a bunch of little creatures, the Tranquil Thicket that can keep drawing cards, and... Does this build have a tabernacle? Thought this build had a tabernacle. Oh, it's just off screen still. Yeah. And the super annoying tutor target, the tabernacle at Pendrell to really muck with your opponent's creatures. So otherwise, you can be sort of this mid-range value-oriented deck with cards like Sylvan Library, Dark Confidant, and Liliana of the Veil, pushing things heavily in your advantage. Morning, Potentia, and thank you very much for your continued support. 5 months is a very long time. I'm glad you've stuck around the channel this long. Hopefully you enjoy this morning's stream. So there's some new cards in this deck list. We have some copies of Assassin's Trophy, which answers anything. It's pretty sweet. There is a downside. Your opponent does get a basic land, but that's something that a lot of times doesn't really matter with this deck. A lot of times you're just grinding your opponent's resources into dust, and it doesn't matter too much if you end up giving them a land. Many decks don't have the basic lands anyway. In the sideboard, we have 3 new-ish cards. We have Knight of Autumn, which is just kind of an upgrade over Rex Sage. It's more flexible, though slightly harder to cast. We have Vraska Golgari Queen, which largely is used for its -3 mode to just like destroy target non-land permanent with CMC 3 or less. Although, like, you can use it to, like, plus get rid of something you don't need anymore, you know, say, like, one of your lands or something, and then gain a life and draw a card. Say its name right, Knight of Awesome. Yeah, I'm with you. Knight of Autumn has overperformed in every single deck that I have shoved it into. I've played it in, like, Green-White Maverick. I've played it in, like, Junk Maverick. Played it in Loam. I've shoved it into humans. It's just been awesome. Like, you almost always use it for the, like, destroy target artifact or enchantment mode, but it's just less dead most of the time. And you can just play it out as a threat in the late game when you need it, and that extra 2 power really matters. And the gaining 4 life mode is relevant sometimes against things like Delver or Burn. And then we have Queen Marchesa as another great card. So like Palace Jailer, it starts the Monarch game, and the neat thing is that if your opponent is the Monarch, each turn you get a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Death Touch and Haste. So it becomes very hard for your opponent to hold the Monarch, and very easy for you to get it back. Okay, I think that's about all I need to say about the deck tech here. I've played with this deck a couple of times already. Actually, I guess this is my first time playing with this one on stream. I've done a handful of leagues with this off stream, and I guess if I want to say one more thing about it, is that this deck is really hard to play. There's a lot of, like, 52% versus 48% decisions, where one of the things you can do is definitely better, but sometimes it's really hard to tell which one of those is better, and over a course of a game, that adds up a lot. So it's very much like Death and Taxes in that regard, where your small decisions really add up to matter and give you an advantage over the course of the game. One of the stupid mistakes that I made a lot with this deck was when I was initially playing it, I would usually get a Savannah, and then I would get like a Badlands or something like that, because that would give me all 4 colors. But if you do that, you can't actually cast Knight of the Reliquary off of those 2 lands. So that's something to be aware of. 4-color Loam is probably favored versus D&T. They've got some really annoying things in the sideboard, like Golgari Charm, that are problematic. The Punishing Firelock is a problem. Knight of the Reliquary gets bigger than our stuff. Dark Confidant is a source of card advantage. I would say 4-color Loam is favored there, but with the caveat that pilot skill matters a ton. There's my 5-0 from when we played with Negator the other day, playing Bug Depths. So I'm going to be playing Loam again on Monday night as well. And on Monday, I'm going to try to have Loamer Boy join me. He wanted to, kind of like help walk me through some of the matches and such. This morning's stream was a little early for his time zone, so that didn't really work out for today. But, we're 90+% to have him joining on Monday night. Yeah, I know, JD. Like, it's crazy. Eternal Weekend kind of snuck up on everyone. Safali, yeah, I loved that stream with Tom Hep, Negator 77. He's a real chill guy. I've enjoyed talking with him at tournaments, and he's been popping into legacy chats, all over the place for years and years and years. I'm really glad I did that stream with him, because I think it really showed how differently I looked at decisions versus how he looked at decisions. Like, a lot of the lines I would have taken on my own would have been far more aggressive than what he knew was much better to do, because it played around more things. And it was just really useful to me. One of the things that he mentioned was that, a lot of players who play like green-black depths, traditional like turbo depths, try to pick this deck up, and then they go like, oh, this is weird. The lines aren't what you expect a lot of times. So I have a turn 2 Chalice or a turn 2 Bob with 2 different utility lands to sort of mitigate the fact that this is a 5-lander. So I will keep this. I'm going to go ahead and lead on Verdant Catacombs here so that I can't get wastelanded on turn 1. Alright. Didn't really want to draw more lands there. So I'm going to go ahead and get my forest here. I have a lot of lands in hand, and if I'm playing against something like Miracles and they're going to have back to basics, I really want to have this. And that's my only fetch as of right now. So I'm leading on Dark Confidant here to go and bait a Source of Plowshares from my opponent or another removal spell if they're playing a control deck. Although I guess playing it in the other order, like if the Chalice resolves, then the Bob is protected from 1-drop removal. But I also like kind of had counter spells in mind, and if one of them was going to get countered, I wanted it to be the Bob. And Safali, thank you very much for your continued support. 6 months is basically forever in Twitch stream time. Oh, neat, that just worked. So now I wasteland my opponent, and we're in pretty darn good shape for this game. Like, I'll stick a Bob, the Bob will draw me into gas, and it'll be hard to remove. Note here that every time I can, I will be tapping my basic forest rather than any of the other lands. Just, like, keeping back to basics in mind. And my opponent is missing land drops as well, so their hand is full of gas. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they can do anything. Unfortunately, I sort of have like 2 reactive cards right now, and I don't really want those at the moment. But now back to basics or like a Naked Mentor isn't going to do anything. Volcanic is an indicator that Blood Moon in the sideboard is more likely than main deck back to basics, but the two aren't 100% mutually exclusive. I don't really want to get rid of a Volcanic Island, but I really don't want my opponent just like casting something like a Jace next turn. I know I have the Assassin's Trophy for it, but something like Jace with Force of Will backup would be disastrous. And since my opponent is sitting on a ton of cards, it's pretty likely that that scenario could occur if they get to the correct number of lands. How do I feel about Chalice on 2? Pretty bad. If I put it on 2, I'd be shutting off Counterspell, potentially counterbalance, Snapcaster Mage, accumulated knowledge, predict. That would leave the only cards that matter in their deck as Jace the Mind Sculptor, Entreat the Angels, Monastery Mentor. I don't think I want to go that route. I also think I'm going to hold the second Chalice and this Maze of Ith right now. The second Chalice on 1 is super punished if my opponent plays EE. And if my opponent casts something like a Council's Judgment that requires them to tap out to answer a Chalice, I can just go and follow up with another Chalice the next turn. Now I don't mind casting a second one of these on 1. It's super unfortunate that I haven't drawn a threat of any nature. Oh, this is great. That's so much better than my opponent just casting Jace. So this tells me my opponent probably just has like Snapcaster Mage. Ooh. Crap, I don't have another black for this currently. So that's a little punishing for getting the forest early on. Although I think it was correct to do so. I guess I could like Assassin's Trophy one of my own lands in order to get the black and try to resolve this now. But that seems pretty bad against a force. So I'll play patiently here. Ooh, does this list not have swamp? This list does not have swamp. Okay. I've been playing with a few different Loam lists. This is the first time I've played this exact 75. And Assassin's Trophy only lets me blow up my opponent's stuff? That's sad. I assume this gets forced, and then I'm in super... Oh man, it just worked. Opponent is apparently just sitting on, like, infinite 1-drops, and I also shuffled away whatever thing was on top that they wanted to keep. I just got huge, huge value out of that. Okay, so how do I want to approach this? I can Green Sun for Teague, or I can Green Sun for, like, Knight or Ooze. So I kind of feel like my opponent has Snapcaster Mage based on the previous play of like using a Council's Judgment on a Chalice of the Void. So it might just be best to get Scavenging Ooze and keep them off of that. If I just get a Knight and I'm right about the Snapcaster Mage read, then I get pretty far behind. The Knight would let me like fix my mana so I can cast a Liliana of the Veil, but I don't think the Knight would make it back around the table. Actually, I guess I don't need to do this now. I can wait on that because this is a sorcery, so if my opponent flashes in the Snapcaster Mage, I just get it. And for anyone wondering, like, why I've been holding this Maze of Ith for infinite turns instead of, like, putting it onto the battlefield, it's so that if I draw a Mox Diamond, I can have a second black source. Hard Gas Terminus. Alright, I will eat an accumulated knowledge here. And then I'll take the counterspell out of the graveyard. Again, I have some degree of suspicion that my opponent has Snapcaster Mage. Strong draws. DNT 24. Things are going pretty well. This game's a little bit clunky. But that's fine as a whole. Like, I'm still very, very, very favored. My opponent's hand, at least a few turns ago when we last put them to the test with the spell, seemed to be pretty soft. This is a donation goal stream, yes. They don't have enough lands out of their deck yet where, like, we want to blow those up. I also just want to save Assassin's Trophy for cards named Jace the Mind Sculptor. Yes, there will be a... Yeah, this is what I was afraid of. There will be a D&T stream on, I think it's Wednesday. Hey, that line I've been playing towards for turns and turns and turns finally happened. So... I'm going to discard second Lily. In case my opponent plays something like that Snapcaster Mage that I need to decay. Yeah, there's that Snapcaster Mage I played around all game. Excellent. So they're just targeting themselves. They're trying to find, like, any cards that matter. Oh, that's awesome. So now I can decay Snapcaster Mage, Punishing Fire Jace, and plus Lily, then return Punishing Fire. Yeah, JD, that was a very good draw. Now my opponent's Jace essentially doesn't go anywhere because like its +2 is mitigated by Punishing Fire. Force of Will targeting Punishing Fire. I accept. I accept. It is a little obnoxious to be on the wrong side of Punishing Fire. That's for sure. So basically, at this point, as soon as my opponent misses out on relevant cards, this game is probably going to slip out of control. And there's a recognition of that, so you see the opponent brainstorming here rather than just like continuing to Fate Seal. Just like winning via Jace Plus is not viable anymore. Well, that's just insane. So I'll start by whacking this Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, so opponent countering that doesn't actually matter all that much for me. So the question here is like, am I okay with losing my Lily? If I'm okay with losing my Lily, I just play Sylvan Library plus let my opponent attack this with Snapcaster and then deal with their board afterwards. Otherwise, I can play a little more patiently, like not use Lily this turn, get Punishing Fire back, take out the Snapcaster Mage. And I think I just want to take out that Snapcaster and not use Lily this turn. I mean, it's very contextual. Like, yeah, it can certainly be correct. Like, you know, if your opponent has like a grove in the graveyard early on, and like you have a really creature heavy hand, it can very much be correct to just go and do that. How does my opponent have so many Snapcaster mages? Do I have a Dryad Arbor? I do have a Dryad Arbor. I'm pretty tempted to save the Lily via Dryad Arbor shenanigans. Like, if my opponent does have, like, a 4th Snapcaster Mage or a Swords to Plowshares, I'd much rather, like, a Dryad Arbor eat it. Oh, neat. This just worked. Um... Can't really Green Sun for anything that's super meaningful here, unfortunately. I'm going to start by plussing and discard my Punishing Fire. Yeah, Green Sun as a shuffle is still fine. I'm probably just going to win this game effectively via a Liliana ultimate and just, like, go Jace versus in all likelihood. So I'm not super worried about, like, actually winning. Um, awkward that I don't have a shuffle effect. I regret how I did this immediately. But it's fine. Opponent has another counterbalance. That's annoying. That blind flip was super good for my opponent. So the other counterbalance is probably on top of their library right now. Ugh. So I can return Punishing Fire. No, returning Punishing Fire probably does nothing. Okay, no, it does do something. So I'm going to go I plus Lily. I'll go to 5. Opponent will go to 11. I'll go to 6. Opponent will go to 13. I ultimate. So I'm winning this race. I probably want to keep the Punishing Fire around as insurance. So rather than just like discard this for 100% free value, I think I'm just going to like bin this Mox. So this threatens to just like destroy Jace in a single attack, so my opponent might have to Jace bounce, which is super good for me. This way, if my opponent has a counter spell, it doesn't matter. So now in response, I go ahead and just punishing fire this. All right, there's accumulated knowledge on top. That's fine. Discarding first to Lily might have been better. Oh, that is rough. So discarding is a net negative for me, which is unfortunate. So if this Lily isn't going to ultimate, and my opponent will surely kill it, I should just sack here. This game's been insane. I'd really like to find an abrupt decay. If I find abrupt decay to answer counterbalance, then like I can kill Mentor, keep Jace in check with punishing fire, and then start using the second Lily. Oh, have fun. See you later. Glad you got to stop in for a little while. Yeah, I like that line a lot. I think my opponent's top card until their draw step was a 2. Unfortunately, like, this can just be stopped if my opponent has another instant. But I think it's my best spot. Excuse me, best spot to try to pick the fight. For D&T, I think Palace Jailer in the main is probably wise. It is probably not a must, but it should probably be there. Like, there's a lot of mid-rangey stuff floating around the format, a lot of slowish control decks where you have time to, like, set up a Palace Jailer scenario that's really good in game 1. Alright, opponent shows me Spell Pierce on top. Might as well try. I don't think it's going to work. Oh wow, opponent only has 3 cards remaining in library. That I did not notice. Yeah, that was an awesome game. And it's kind of unfortunate, but like I'm gonna win this match by timeout in all likelihood. I think this is probably a case where like my opponent won the battle but lost the war by playing out that entire game. Very well played on their end. Alright. So I probably want Johnny, Vraska, Knight of Autumn, the Golgari Charms, and Marchesa. And then I don't want the Knights, the Green Sun, the maze. One wasteland. And Lily last. That's super cute. Tempo, try to win with 0 cards in hand. Control, try to win with 0 cards in deck. Yeah. All right. So the approach in the sideboarding notes that I have says, like, try to avoid playing with, like, a Knight of the Reliquary. You know, it's super weak to Swords to Plowshares. And instead, you just try to, like, grind them out of the game with Planeswalkers. It's possible I should board differently, like trying to keep in mind that I should like be trying to like time my opponent out. So like I should bring in the Swords of Plowshares and the Thalias to stop just like quick mentor kills. Yeah, I could see Thalia for 1 Loam and Green Sun. I don't think I just want to play Lily into Counterspell here. Yeah, I have Connor's notes. Connor is Loamer Boy. You know, I still don't want to play this Lily into Counterspell. So I'm going to use Liliana Last Hope here as the bait, and then resolve Lily of the Veil. Why? Because I really like the idea of crippling my opponent's hand. All right, well, so I guess at this point, my plan is to just take care of the game via Liliana Ultimate. So if that's the case, then I can just like split back to basics verse. Hey, hey. Well, that's super punishing, but not all that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. A redundant copy of this is probably better than one other mana towards X random card. Oh. Actually, I don't want to draw this, so it doesn't matter either way. It's going to the graveyard either way. Oh, if time isn't an issue, I totally split those piles a different way there, right? Because like this leaves them with their best combination of cards. The statement I made right there was just like, I'm timing you out. Yeah, so on Magic Online, if your opponent times out, you win the match. So that will be listed as like a 1-1 win for me. which is a little unusual because like that doesn't really happen on paper. But you know, Magic Online is a whole different animal. It was a very long first match, but it was the first match. That was a really interesting game. I'm probably gonna rewatch that game later and just kind of think about some of my lines. There were a lot of decision points there. Like I really noticed one part where I messed up, but I'm sure there were more. Like I'm still learning Loam. It's a really hard deck. So Arkan, I have a 2/2 split of Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay in the main deck. And if you have any questions about that, you can check the Cardboard Live extension on the screen. You can click the little like set of cards on the left hand side to pull up my my full deck list. Okay, so I have a choice this turn. The choice this turn is like, do I just wasteland them and try to like get a free one, or do I just cast the Chalice? I'm a little bit unsure. I'm leaning towards waste. Yeah, so the upside of Chalice resolving is very high, but the upside of Wasteland resolving and my opponent has one land is also very high. So Safali, I will make a note of that. I'm gonna waste. Like the other thing I want to like be cognizant of is that at some point I want to have this Knight of the Reliquary be bigger than a 3/3 when it enters the battlefield. All right, and now I've gained the opportunity to play around days, which is huge. Ooh, does that change what I do this turn? Probably not. Like, the Chalice is still just so good, and then that'll let me curve Knight into Lily. I'm going to go ahead and play Wasteland this turn. I mean, my opponent does have 2 creatures on the battlefield. My opponent can, like, draw Force of Will and use it as a tempo play. But, yeah, I really like my situation here. Okay, so if I fetch, my Knight will be a 5/5. with the possibility to grow it. Oh yeah, opponent is not in good shape. Well, that seems like kind of a weird time to do that, but okay. How do I play this Lily? Do I just like Lily minus, see what they do, and potentially attack? Because I can turn this knight into just an absolutely massive creature. I can fetch, putting it to 6, wasteland myself, putting it to an 8/8. I guess I could even turn it into like a 9/9 if I also Lily discard a land. Yeah, fetching Maze does seem really good. All right. All right, Force of Will. So I guess the only way I'm going to get punked out of this game is by getting hit with a back to basics, or not back to basics, price of progress. Otherwise, this one feels pretty locked up once I have Maze of Ith. So I should probably just like wasteland myself. Like fetch a land I don't really want, wasteland myself right now. And then just keep Savannah. All right, yeah, maybe I don't need to like rush to use it. Ooh, buddy. So Nick, we won one very long and grueling match versus Miracles via timeout. And we are now up a game versus Burn. Sorry, Blue-Red Delver. They're different decks. Alright. I want Swords. I want Charm. I want Thalia. I board out Green Sun, Teague, Library, Tranquil Thicket, and one Loam. On the play, I should consider Knight of Autumn and Ajani. I almost wonder if I should consider Knight of Autumn regardless. 4 life, staple to a creature, or the ability to destroy Eidolon seems pretty good. Yeah, I kind of want this in. Yeah, so what should I trim? Like, do I trim one Bob? Like, Bob's really good, but, you know, my life total is very relevant in this matchup. Yeah, Lower Boys notes don't tell me to cut Bobs, so, like, they must be good. And presumably I can clock my opponent pretty quickly. This is different conceptually from how I would have sideboarded. But I'm going to yield to matchup experience. This hand does nothing. My opponent has mulled to 5. I'll keep this one. This is one where I kind of hope my Bob resolves and does some work. So, like, conceptually, I would have boarded Bob's out, kept the Green Suns in. Yeah, Green Sun's slow, but you have a lot of removal, right? So I can see, like, Knight being one of the cards that, like, really breaks the board apart. Like, you play out a Knight, and all of a sudden you're the aggressor. Yeah, actually, that's true. Like, Bob's role might just be to trade with small creatures very aggressively, rather than, like, how you use Bob against control decks. This would be a rough days. Aha! Okay. So I think I'm fine with just using Golgari Charm to kill Lava Man. But I want to wasteland my opponent first to grow my knight. Is this the same scenario where I'm just supposed to get Mazavith again? And just, like, create the Vigilant Knight? Because it feels like it is. Yeah, I'm just going to get my Maze again. Smash the Smithereens, targeting my Mox. So that's slightly annoying, but I'm okay with that. Cubs fan, I'm writing some notes to send back to Connor because, like, he was kind enough to share some, like, very good matchup notes with me, and so I'd like to return the favor by giving feedback. And my opponent's done with Wii, and we've moved on to 2-0. I'm going to refill my water real quick while I'm in queue. Yeah, opponent confirmed, not a fan of the Vigilant Big Boy. Yeah, Arkan, I'd love to run back 5-0s. I've had kind of a medium streak over the past, 2 weeks-ish. Like, I got 2 trophies right away at the start, and then I just had, like, a whole bunch of 3-2s and 4-1s. And that 1-0-3 drop stream where we played Enchantress, the weird Trials Enchantress, that list wasn't good, so I don't count that one. But generally speaking, pretty happy with how I've been playing. We got a trophy with Negator 77 on stream the other night. That was a sweet 5-0. We worked for that one, and by we I largely mean Tom. He did most of the things that mattered. So just because Connor, aka Loamer Boy, has come up a few times, Connor's going to try to join me not tomorrow night, Monday night on stream. I'm going to have him Skype in, and he can help walk me through some things. Looking forward to that. He's a couple time zones away from me, so it really didn't work out to do this for the Saturday morning stream. But the next one he's gonna stop in for. The O3 Enchantress stream was rough. It was kind of funny, but that was probably the worst Legacy deck I've ever played. Legacy deck in big quotes there. Yeah, I mean, he loves the bug depths like I love D&T. So my opponent was seen playing lands a few months ago. I don't necessarily know that I want to just assume that they're lands. This is a really reasonable hand. It has a lot of play to it. So I'm going to keep this one. 3-drop, 3-drop. It just works, right? All right. Opponent plays a Delver. Ooh. All right. So I have a choose your own adventure book where basically all the lines are good. I can just like snap off this wasteland on my opponent's underground sea before they have any time to set up. I can just like green sun, try to get ahead on mana, and then just start casting stuff. I'm not too worried about winning this game. Like, I have 2 different removal spells. I have a giant game-ending threat and something that's basically impossible to answer. So, feels good. I think one of the only ways I'll lose is by getting gimped, where I just don't get to cast spells or play Magic in any capacity. So I think I'm just going to try to get ahead on mana. Yeah, I'm going to go for Daze Proof Chalice next turn. That is my plan. The way this game can fall apart is that if this gets countered, followed by a wasteland, but I don't want to get forest here because, like, my hand is very mana intensive, and I'm going to need a lot of different colors. If I get forest here, and then in order to cast like both of my removal spells, I would have to get like Badlands, but then that doesn't cast Night, so. Note, I regret nothing. Like, I still have just, like, cast Punishing Fire on this Delver next turn. Or better, if I draw another colored land, I get to decay it. Since my hand was so color intensive, if I had gone and... Let's see, how do I want to do this? It's an awkward fetching spot. Basically, every land I get is going to require me to draw another colored source in order to cast something. I think I'm going to get Taiga, because that opens me up to drawing basically everything other than forest to cast one of these. So I hit Taiga. This Punishing Fire resolving matters a lot. I can probably take one more turn to cast the Chalice now. But it's close. So the upside to doing this is that if my opponent has like a Daze or Force or something, the Chalice eats it rather than the Punishing Fire. But I'll get super punished by another Wasteland on my colored source. Yeah, Nick, I agree. Ah, shit, it's a Gurmag Angler. That's rough. I need to draw a colored source. So, like, I have an answer to this Angler in hand, but I need to rip a black source. And it has to be this turn. Damn it, Dryad Arbor. Well, I guess that trump blocks for a turn. I get a rebuy. And then if I draw a white source, I can also just, like, resolve Knight. We are under the abyss, and it does not feel good. All right, let me just confirm that I have nothing that I can green sun for, because I already used my Dryad Arbor. I do not. Did not really expect to lose that one. Just kind of like the exact setup scenarios that needed to happen for me to lose that one did. Like, you know, I died with two much larger threats than my opponent's threats. Or I guess, yeah. Two 6/6s to my opponent's 5/5 and two removal spells. It happens. Alright. So, against Grixis Delver, I want Swords, Charm, Tabernacle, Last Hope, Ajani. I cut Library, Teague, Green Suns, one Loam, one Thicket, oh, sorry, I messed it up. I looked at the wrong column. All right, I want this. So out should be Library, Teague, two Bobs. Oh, interesting. Two Chalices. And the Tranquil Thicket. So in his Swords, two Charm, Tabernacle, Last Hope, Ajani. What'd I do wrong? Alright, out was Library, Teague, two Bob, two Chalice, Tranquil Thicket. So that's 7 out, 7 in. Why am I at 58? Green Suns. Green Suns stay. There we go. Caracas should go over the Thicket. Do I just want the Caracas as an untapped white source? I could see just wanting an untapped land. And just like, I don't think I want to cut the Caracas if I'm bringing in 2 more white cards, but I could totally understand that argument. 3 more white cards. I don't have enough land here. Oh, boy. This is not good. Is the average 5-card hand from Loam better than this? Because I have a plan. My plan is wasteland my opponent's first 2 lands, punishing fire their first threat, and hope that's good enough. This hand is very bad. Ugh. Like, I kind of fold to a Thoughtseize. A Mox Diamond. That's a touch too late. I just kind of want gas at this point. Like, if I had something I could, like a 3-drop I could accelerate out on turn 2, I'd be fine with that. Ooh, a knight. So I'm going to take a negative tempo play here and try to nug my opponent's lands, see if that buys me a lot of time. And see, my opponent doesn't know that the Dryad Arbor is in my hand, so if they attack with this Delver, it's representing the fact that they'd be willing to trade Delver for Dryad Arbor. Our opponent is completely oblivious to that line. Drawing the Dryad Arbor is so bad. In case I get Wastelanded, I'm going to get Savannah so I don't get knocked off of green, even though this won't be giving me black. So that Grove's actually a decent draw. Again, it's super unfortunate that I drew this Dryad Arbor. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have returned that. I returned it to like just play around my opponent drawing a Surgical Extraction, but now it can be taken with the discard spell. Or my opponent can rip more Wastelands, and it's irrelevant. But we are a skilled magician. So everything's fine. Yeah, I brought in Charms. It would have been a sick draw. So I know my opponent has Lightning Bolt now. Neat. So doing this plays around any sort of soft permission. And so the reason why I didn't play out the Dryad Arbor that turn was so that I could play around Spell Pierce on the Swords to Plowshares. So now the board is clear. If my opponent goes and dumps something like a Gurmag Angler into play, my Knight will be bigger than it. And I'll have the possibility of green sunning for a second Knight as well. Alright, so I want to draw a land this turn so that I can Knight of Autumn that. But we'll deal with that problem later. Just confirm I don't have a Pride Mage. I do not have a Pride Mage. Alright, so my opponent has a Bitter Blossom. I have a Knight that more or less checks that. I have the Punishing Firelock, and I have Green Sun for Knight of Autumn to just get rid of the Bitter Blossom. True Name is a little scary here. But I can probably just straight out race True Name with my Knight once I get rid of the Bitter Blossom. Alright, so I get to go 1, 2, 3, 4, go and get Knight of Autumn, have 2 mana left over. So I could just Ghost Quarter and Wasteland my opponent this turn, if I want to. Probably getting rid of my Dryad Arbor, although it would help me play around an Edict effect. Just Green Sun for another Knight? Is that good? Like, the Bitter Blossom stuff chump blocks? So if I just get another Knight, then I Punishing Fire the Fairy Rogue, turn my Dryad Arbor into like a Taiga, recast. I guess I could see that being good. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, get Knight. 1, 2, 3, 4, get Knight. Fetch away my Dryad Arbor to get a Taiga, Punishing Fire a Fairy Rogue. Oh, getting Tabernacle is another sweet idea, actually. Yeah, I think I can win this super easily with the Tabernacle. So, since I can't take him off of all of his mana, it's fine to leave him with one. Like, since I'm leaving him with one land no matter what, I'm not taking him off of the true name. So, essentially, I can trade, like, one damage for one of my opponent's mana. And then on my turn, I'll finish off my opponent's lands, leave them with nothing, and then win the game with the knight. So the world where this gets awkward is if my opponent wastelands my grove. Another true name is rough. Now the attack does me no good because true name just blocks it. And I'm going to need to draw a Golgari charm. I think I should have taken my original line of just like blowing up the Bitter Blossom with Night of Autumn. So the only way I win here is if I Golgari charm this board, but then I don't know how I win afterwards. I think I'm just dead on board. can't think of anything that gets me back in it. Yeah, opponent is extremely good at drawing lands. No, I don't have Glacial Chasm. Alright, folks, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Hello everyone, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University. Today we're streaming with 4-color Loam. We are currently 2-1. Last round we had some interesting decision points that didn't really work out in our favor. I'm not sure if I objectively misplayed or not, but it didn't work out. This hand seems like it has reasonable tools in it. I will keep. I might immediately just cycle this Tranquil Thicket. Why would you play your island before that Ponder? Do you think I'm a Daze deck and you're just like super Landlight or something? See if we're playing against Miracles again, or if this is just something like some combo deck like Sneak and Show. So I need to get a black source with this to cast Lily. Let's get Scrub. Force Pitch Impulse. Alright, opponent confirmed playing combo. So this is probably either Sneak and Show or Omnitel. Sneak and Show. Find me another Lily. Nope. So the way we win this is by my opponent just having to go and show and tell in just a creature. Through the Breach. That's bad. I was expecting Impulse, not Through the Breach. Or not Cunning Wish for Through the Breach. I guess this isn't actually all that bad. Oh no, I'm at exactly 15. It is all that bad. Well. Alright. I was about to say, like, yeah, I just sack all my lands, make Knight into a big, and then just kill my opponent on the backswing. Ugh, okay, now I know. This is labeled as Sneak and Blow in the notes. That's not a good sign. It was my impression that this matchup was hard. I think I was correct. All right, so in Thalia, Knight of Autumn, Double Charm, 2 Swords, Marchesa. Out, 2 Loam, 3 Punishing Fire, Skoos, Maze, Library. Wait, on the draw, out Library, on the play, out Decay. I kind of wonder if just like playing Ajani as something that keeps one of their lands tapped down is viable. I'm going to take a second to kind of scan over things and see if there's anything I want less than Ajani. The Abrupt Decay seems pretty bad. It hits the 3-mana guy from one of the newest sets. I guess it also hits Blood Moon. So maybe that's fine. Yeah, thank you. Arcane Artisan was what I was looking for. I could see Ajani being better than the Decay. If you're mazing an Emrakul, you're not winning, right? Maze is good against Grizzlebrand. But you already kind of like have Caracas to tutor up for that purpose. This is unplayable. This is a good hand. I don't want another knight. I'm just gonna get a forest to like make my. Maybe I don't get a forest. Like I already have Mox Diamond to like have some resiliency against that. So I'm just gonna lead with Thalia so my opponent can't cantrip on turn 1 and then follow up with Bob. No, because Plow hits Arcane Artisan. I wonder if I'm supposed to play Knight over Bob. So Knight would currently be a 4/4. Assuming I don't grow it any bigger, that's 6, 12, 18. That's a 3-turn clock. How many disruptive cards do I have to draw towards? So I have, to some extent, Teague, Trophy, Lily, Chalice, Night of Autumn. Maybe I'm supposed to just try to close the door behind Thalia. Alright, chat seems to agree with me. My opponent is just throwing that Ancient Tomb out there. So, yes, I will 100% Wasteland that. What are you going to do, like Brainstorm here? Impulse? That is not a feel-good Brainstorm right there. I don't think it matters what land I get. Yeah, my opponent's just done with me. Alright, so on the draw, Library out, Decay in. Well, I can't cast any spells other than Chalice here. Like, Chalice is a very good card, but not such a bad card that I can be missing both of my primary colors. I'm going to ship this one. Well, I'll keep this. Man, I wish I could cast that Thalia. So the good news is that if my opponent casts Show and Tell for Omniscience and they start off with some cantrip or something, I can charm the Omni in response. Alright, Blood Moon is an annoyance here. It's not game ending, but it's pretty rough. I'd love to draw Mox Diamond. Yeah! 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 Screw you and your damn moon. All right. Now what? If I play knight this turn, next turn I can Golgari Charm the Blood Moon and fetch up Caracas. Like, I like the idea of playing knight this turn, because next turn... Ooh! Ooh! So now I have options. I kind of like Golgari Charm Moon into fetch away Bayou for another land, play Bob. I kind of want to hold the Knight of Autumn in case my opponent show and tells. Alright, opponent is just F6'd. Life is pretty decent. And my opponent's done with me. We got lucky to win that one. That's a hard matchup. So, Teak, I've won against Sneak and Show with this deck every time that I've played. But every time it was like, man, I got lucky. Like, I think I played against the matchup like maybe 3 times, and every time it's just like, man, my hand sucks. Man, my deck sucks. And I've gotten super lucky. But just to, like, kind of look at the cards that matter. In game 1, basically the cards that matter are Chalice and Liliana the Veil and Caracas. And most of the rest of your deck is just kind of poopy. Ecstatic Teague matters a little bit. And even after sideboarding, like, things don't get much better. There's not, like, Oblivion Rings that can just come in as catch-alls here. So this one's rough. I think I have some of Connor's data. Yeah, he says he's something like 9 and 22 against it. I think our opponent plays Maverick. So if my opponent's playing Maverick, how do I like this hand? Green-white Maverick specifically. So I can't cast this. I can't cast this. And this card is bad. I should probably mulligan. This is a much better hand. Mox Diamond so that I can Abrupt Decay on 1 and Lily on 2. Don't mind if I do. I don't think I want to be wastelanding my opponent this game. I think I want to be, like, dealing with my opponent's board. And I'm going to get my forest here so that I 100% play Lily next turn. Oh, please just Green Sun for Dryad Arbor and pass so I can Lily minus. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do I want to land other than Badlands? No, Badlands is fine. We're a bully. All right. The record says 9 wins, 0 losses versus Maverick. I like the look of that. All right. In Night of Autumn, 2 charms, 2 swords, Tabernacle, Last Hope, Vraska, Ajani, Marchesa. Out. Teague, Green Suns, Chalice, 1 Mox, Tranquil Thicket, and then 1 of Maze, Ghost Quarter, or Loam. So 1 of Maze, Ghost Quarter, or Loam. Chad, any thoughts on which one of those cards or other cards I should cut? I'm at 61. My thought is that Loam is kind of one of the cards that can break this matchup open, so I kind of want to keep that. I kind of like pulling the Ghost Quarter. My opponent is going to have basics. Any thoughts? All right. 3 people all at once said, yeah, Ghost Quarter. So let's do that. So I have Loam and I have Bob. I'll keep this. I can't interact with my opponent's board immediately, but like I have a maze, so I can stop a big knight or something like that. Ooh. So I'm going to go ahead and play both of my fetches over the course of the next 2 turns so that I can loam them both back. All right, opponent apparently has a very reactive hand. Okay. So this might not look like it makes sense, but I'm wait to waste slam my opponent until they're upkeep. And we're going to see if exactly the reason why I waited happened. There it is. There it is. So like I needed to play around like both Scrib Ranger and Swords to Plowshares to the best of my ability, so that's why I didn't just like ram Bob out there. Neat. Oh, both the Bayous are in my hand. Did not realize that. So I guess I'll get Savannah Scrub to guarantee that I have white. No, I should get red with one of these. I'm not worried about getting knocked off of green. Alright, I'll get a Badlands with one. Get white with the other. My opponent wastelands me, I'll get knocked off of either red or white, but neither one of those is particularly relevant right now, so that's okay. Hoping my opponent doesn't deploy more creatures so that like my Lily minus will actually be meaningful. Oh wow, opponent is offering a trade here. That's interesting. Oh yeah, thank you. Scrib Ranger. Scrib Ranger does everything. It's really easy to forget some of the stupid stuff that Scrib Ranger can do. In talking to some Maverick players, sometimes they say like, "Oh yeah, it's just like one of the best cards in your deck." Okay, so again, if I cast this Punishing Fire, it's not really doing anything. I can't actually cast the Punishing Fire. Guess I'm loaming this turn. So I'm at 7 cards in hand. Yeah, whatever, I'll click a couple of these. Figure out what I want to do in a second here. So if I attack in, my opponent can return a forest, untap, mom, block. So I don't actually want to attack. I'll just put that fetch right back in there. I don't even remember what Scrib Ranger does. All I know is that it's dangerous. My life total is under considerable amounts of pressure. Do not need the loam. All right. So I'm probably locked into 2 turns of Lily minus in a row. Or like Lily minus and Punishing Fire. I'm going to hold this Badlands in my hand. There's a world where just like playing out Maze of Ith was better there. So now I don't care if you untap Script Ranger. Be very happy for that trade. So now my opponent will use 2 of their mana to equip Script Ranger, attack me, shoot Lily. I'll end up taking 3. I'll be at 10. Then I have backup Lily and or Maze of Ith and or Vraska to kind of close things out. There is also a world where they just shoot my Bob instead. Yeah. I'm actually somewhat grateful for that. I think I have enough resources to win this game. Ooh, neat. So now I can kind of go on this weird land destruction plan. So I can Punishing Fire Sylvan Safekeeper, and then Source of Plowshare Scrib Ranger. Potentially costing my opponent 2 lands. Or I can just, like, play Maze of Ith. Oh man, there's so many different lines this turn. I can also just, like, Vraska. Like, I can Vraska, destroy the sword, then my opponent only has 2 power in play. I don't hate that. And then my opponent might have to spend, like, both of their attacks to, like, clobber my Lily. Or my Vraska. Alright, yeah, I don't hate that. Again, since I only have 1 red source, I'm going to hold this. Should Lily plus first, technically. So now my opponent can kill 1 of my 2 planeswalkers. And then between, like, both of these removal spells and, like, Lily Maze, I think I'm good. Super happy that Bog came down now and didn't take my Punishing Fire. My Loam is gone, but whatever. This game's not about Loam anymore. Alright, so Liliana the Veil's going. Tabernacle is probably not where I want to be right now. Let's go Lily. I'll Lily minus you. Scrib Ranger's gone, leaving Sylvan Safekeeper. Now I'll just, like, Maze of Ith to deal with that. And if my opponent wants to, like, sacrifice a land in order to try to kill Lily, I'll Surge the Plowshares in response and try to take another land out. Alright, Night of Autumn. So the mode is just make itself bigger. Fine with destroying a land for 1 white mana. Actually, this Tabernacle might end up being really good. Like, if my opponent has to keep using Sylvan Safekeeper to sacrifice lands to protect their stuff. Alright, so they preemptively do this, so I can't maze it. That's fine. They'll kill my Lily of the Veil. I can then, like... Yeah, this is fine. So I can Punishing Fire Safekeeper, make them sack a land. Like, how low am I willing to go on life is the real question. Like, how low are they willing to go on lands? So I can Punishing Fire and Night and Vraska in this turn cycle. If I play Tabernacle and Night, then my opponent protects Night of Autumn and hits me for 4. Whereas if I Punishing Fire this, they sack a land. Then I go to, like, Vraska Mom, they sack another land. Then I play Night and I play Tabernacle on the following turn. Is that better? Like, my Punishing Fire and Vraska activations are basically dead after this turn if my opponent has both Mom and Sylvan Safekeeper. So now my opponent has to like think, how deep am I willing to go to protect the safekeeper if I have Mom as well? Very deep is the answer. So now in order for my opponent to hit me, they have to like tap Mom, give Pro White, also give Shroud. All right, that's a little unfortunate. Very much okay with my opponent only nugging me for 1. Ooh. All right. And my opponent is done with me. And that's a 4-1. All right, let's do a couple of closing thoughts here about the deck list. Honestly, it feels great. Like, in my understanding, there's not a lot of wiggle room in the main deck of this deck. I don't know exactly what some of those slots are, but I feel like there's some experimentation in like the Assassin's Trophy slot right now and in a couple of the flex lands. But I felt pretty good with this. I think other than Leyline of the Void, we used everything in the sideboard. The 3 ley lines looks a little weird on paper, but I think it's correct in order to make like the in-out numbers work elsewhere. I haven't been overly impressed by Vraska Golgari Queen. Most of the time when I've used it, it's been an expensive Abrupt Decay. But I guess like when it works and does its thing, it's probably pretty nuts. Like I guess like using 2 -3 activations this game was pretty strong. And I guess like the possibility of every other turn destroy target permanent is pretty great, even if you're not like necessarily sacrificing with the +2 ability. So I'm gonna play this again on Monday night. So like just to like show what's upcoming in the next week here. I'm gonna play some Loam, some D&T, High Tide, Orcish Lumberjack, Titania Shenanigans, and then Blue-White Spirits Ether Vial deck. This one I think will be real interesting. I have some thoughts, but I'll wait until the stream to share them. All right, folks, that's all I've got for this afternoon here. I'm gonna host you or send you over to someone else who's playing some Legacy. Again, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University. If you enjoyed today's content, please follow so that you can see more Legacy content. I'm streaming every Monday, Wednesday evening, as well as Saturday mornings. And if you really like this content, please consider doing something like subscribing or doing a donation deck list or something like that in order to really, keep my content coming. I do it for the love of the format. I'll see you all again soon.